ACDC?
Yes, sir.
You guys can go first.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, see how.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal, and we're going to commence with our misdemeanor expedited accusation calendar. These are a list of misdemeanor cases in which individuals were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Soon after being booked in, the defendants' cases were formally accused by the prosecutor, who is the Solicitor General's Office of Fulton County. Hence, this would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. When I call your name, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. When I address your case, I will let you know what is your new accusation number, who is going to be your appointed counsel if necessary, what are the charges brought against you, whether a court date will be provided to you, and what your bond is going to be. Some of you may qualify for a signature bond. Some of you may qualify for what we call a surety bond or a cash bond. All these factors will determine on what is your criminal record history, if any, as well as what are the circumstances of the case. Courtroom 2, who do we have first? Oh, ACDC.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Coming up is position number 1, Miss Allen.
This is Ariana Allen, accused of forgery in the 4th degree and deposit account fraud of no more than $1,499 or $1,499 from April 4th, 2024. Ms. Allen, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Any prize, Mr. Howard?
Second arrest, 2020 shoplifting dismissed. That's it.
Thank you. Miss Allen, Miss Helena Allen with the prosecutor's office. Yes, ma'am. What is the state's recommendation?
Thank you, Your Honor. This case deals with an admission by the defendant during an investigation into check forgery and passing bad checks that were in the name of her former employee. She reported that she was disgruntled and got money hungry. She worked with a friend of hers named Michael that police ended up being able to identify, who she referred to as a scammer to falsify and copy multiple checks. She was the endorser on 4 separate checks. The amount totaled that cleared of these 4 checks that were altered was $190.25. She also reported there also was found to be a withdrawal from the company funds. Her former employer, Atlanta Integrated and Internal Medicine, for $1,500. Police also recovered text messages between the defendant and her co-conspirator, Michael, talking about their plan and acknowledging being a willing participant. Since she has no history, Your Honor, we would request a level 1. I'm guessing that's what pretrial would suggest, with a stay away from the location, specifically 45 West Crossville Road in Roswell. That's the Atlanta Integrated and Internal Medicine location. And no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Ms. Kim, any objection to the stay away?
No objection, Your Honor,
All right,
unless she has a business there as a nurse or being a patient.
understood. Bond is going to be set at $1,000 on each count. That's a $2,000 signature bond for pretrial services. She will report to pretrial once a month. She's to have no further contact and stay away from the Crossville Medical Facility until further order of the court. And she's also to have no contact with this Michael accomplice. Do we have a last name?
Let me see if the documents indicate a last name.
Your Honor, only one thing is though she is currently expected to be deployed to another country because she has been in the army for the last couple of years. And if that happens, she will not be able to report in person. So that report has to be by telephone or email, Your Honor.
All right, first of all, she has to show her documentation from the military that
Sure.
she's required to be deployed to a different location.
Sure.
And then I'll allow for email contact after
Sure.
the date of deployment and when
Sure.
she expects to return.
Yes,
The
Your Honor.
co-defendant's name is Michael Stokes, Stokes.
All right, no further contact with Michael Stokes.
And for the record, she denies the allegation, Your Honor. She was co-owner of the account, but she was not the participant.
All right, so noted. Thank you.
Next is position number 7, Ms. Gibson.
We have State versus Shawntaria Gibson, accused of battery, family violence from July 16, 2024. Ms. Gibson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Cook. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Second arrest, 2017, shoplifting, reduced to disorderly conduct conviction.
Thank you. Ms. Desiano, good afternoon. What's the state's recommendation?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. The state recommends a signature bond through pretrial, no further violent contact with the victim, 1-day anger awareness, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond. And that's based on our office has spoken with the victim who says that he would like contact. This is an incident between a boyfriend and a girlfriend who live together. The girlfriend is the defendant. She pulled him by the back of the shirt down a flight of stairs. Given her lack of history, that's the basis for the state's recommendation.
Any objection, Mr. Cook?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. Bond is set at $2,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. She's to have no further violent contact with this gentleman with a very long name. First name is Triyeya Johans Richardson. My goodness, that's a mouthful. All right.
And Your Honor, I believe Mr. Richardson is on the line.
All right. Where is he?
Well, there's
Yes,
someone
ma'am.
called. Yeah.
All right, so I don't need him to speak at the present time. He just needs to understand that from this point onwards, there cannot be any physical or verbal altercations between the two of them. Otherwise, Miss Gibson will be back in jail. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, what was the full disposition? I'm sorry, 2,000 signature bond, level 1, no further violent contact.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Next is position 10, Ms. Howard.
This is State versus Kijuan. No, wrong. This is State versus Victoria Nicole Howard. Are you Miss Howard?
Ma'am, I am.
All right. She's accused of battery, family violence from July 16, 2024. She has been advised of her right to remain silent, and her attorney is going to be Miss Maureen McLeod.
No, Your Honor, I represent Mrs. Neal.
This is a co-defendant case.
Yes, yes.
So Miss Howard is represented by whom?
Keith Cook.
Oh, Miss Cook, Mr. Cook. All right. And Mr. Spence is the cross defendant in this matter, and he's seated next to Mr. Cook.
No. Did you want me to bring him up?
Yes, please.
Sorry, you sit down. Come on.
That was Spencer Neal, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You want history?
Yes, please.
Fifth arrest, 2017 suspended license conviction. 2017, 2016 FTA.
For these, okay. What was the FTA for? Traffic?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Position 15 is the cross defendant to Ms. Howard, and that would be Spencer Neal, case 24 CR 004797F. And he's represented by Ms. Maureen McLeod.
7 total.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
7 total. 2016 probation. 2016 possession of marijuana. 2015 probation and 2014 theft by taking conviction.
All right. Thank you. All right. With regards to Ms. Howard and Mr. Neal, please remember that you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney have been so identified as Mr. Cook for Ms. Howard and Ms. McLeod for Mr. Neal. Ms. Dunlop State, what's your recommendation for either defendant?
We're looking for a signature bond through pretrial on both defendants. No further contact with each other. That's Spencer Neal, Victoria Howard. We'll leave it up to the court's discretion regarding a stay away, since this incident did happen yesterday, and we would recommend they have a cooling off period. 1 day anger awareness, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. This incident happened at, I believe the location is 6321 Red Wine Road in East Point. Officers responded to a domestic dispute. They spoke to Mr. Spencer. He didn't first want to admit they got into an altercation. He said Miss Howard went through his phone, didn't like what she saw. Both of them had injuries. Mr. Neal had scratches to his face and chest, and she had lacerations to her left chest area. They advised that they were shoving each other back and forth. That's what caused the scratches. So that's why we're recommending the no further contact for the cooling off period.
All right. Mr. Cook, any recommendation for your client, Victoria Howard?
But, Your Honor, they currently do not live together. She lives at a different address than the one in the warrant, than the Red Run Road, East Point address. We would be seeking for her a signature bond through the jail if that's still possible. And as far as contact or stay away, we would leave that up to the court's discretion.
Okay. Ms. McLeod, how's your client feel about the no contact?
Your Honor, my client would prefer no further violent contact. He tells me that, they were having a disagreement, and he does want to have contact if the court consents to that. Neither of them called the police. They were just, someone else apparently called the police. But I just wanted the court to understand that this was not a situation where either of them called law enforcement. And as Mr. Cook stated, they do not live together, but they have been in a relationship for approximately 8 years. So there is some significant relationship there. And my client certainly has no history of violence. As a matter of fact, he tells me that he's a comedian by profession, which tells me he's into humor. And, he would like to have contact. And we would not mind a signature bond through the jail, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, we would have no objection to no further violent contact.
Thank you. For Ms. Howard and Mr. Neal, the bond's going to be set at $2,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. Both have the same signature bond. Pretrial services, level 1. No further violent contact with each other. They may have contact with each other if they choose to do so. They may not have contact with each other if they choose to do so. But if it's the former, it cannot involve any physical or verbal altercations. Otherwise, one or both may end up being back in jail. While you are out on a signature bond, you will both enroll in what we call a domestic violence intervention program. And both are required to enroll in such a program within 30 days of being released. You can both take the classes together, or you can take the classes entirely separately, but you both must show proof to pretrial services that you have enrolled in such a program by your second meeting date. You're required to complete all the classes and produce a certificate to your pretrial officer. No illegal drugs and no firearms. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. And that concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, Ms. McLeod, thank you very much. And if I don't see you before, have a great trip.
Thank you.
It's looming closer.
Yes, it is. 2 weeks until check-in.
All right, thank you. All right, ACDC, do we have any other cases?
No, Your Honor, that's it for ACDC.
Enjoy. Thank you. Courtroom 2?
No, Your Honor, we can go to position number 4, Ms. Brown.
This is State versus, and let me get her right name, which would be Marquisia
Yes,
Jeanette Brown,
yes.
accused of simple battery and criminal trespass from July 17th of this year, case number 24 CR 47888. Ms. Brown, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook.
Yes.
All right. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
14. Last arrest was June. Criminal damage to property, 2nd degree. It's 24 PI 004465. That's a pretrial case. 2023 possession of marijuana. 2022 simple battery, 2 counts conviction. 2019 trespass conviction, 18 probation. And 2015 simple battery DV, 3 counts conviction.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Desian?
Your Honor, in this case, this actually happened on the 15th of July, not the 17th of July. I believe there's a discrepancy in Odyssey. Officers were dispatched to the Express Food and Pharmacy store at 50 Upper Alabama Street. The victim in this case is the security guard there, Curtis Motley. He had previously criminally trespassed this defendant, and when she came back in, there was a confrontation about her being previously trespassed, and she got upset and slapped him in the face before walking out. As you heard pre-trial today, she does have priors. There's 2 counts of simple battery, the conviction from last year. She also has a prior criminal trespass from 2019 and another simple battery from 2017. The state's requesting a $2,000 good bond. That's $1,500 on the simple battery, $500 on the criminal trespass. No further contact with Mr. Motley. Stay away from the incident location. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. Our office has not been in touch with Mr. Motley today. If you could sound for him at this time.
Curtis Motley, if you're on screen, you may unmute and start your video. All right, Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 32 years old. She's lived in the Atlanta area her entire life. She denies the allegations as stated in the warrant and said she was defending herself as the security guard ran up on her. We have no problem with a stay away and no further contact. We would be seeking a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate.
Okay. On the simple battery, 750. On the trespass is 250. Her total bond is 1,000. It is a surety bond. She's to stay away from the Express Food and Pharmacy store and the entire underground on Alabama Street and Peachtree and Wall Street, all that entire location. She's to stay away from that entire location, and she's to have no further contact with Curtis Motley. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons and firearm. The next court date will be, Ms. Bridgewater?
July 30th.
Next court date is July 30th. And we can, the other matter is a felony case. So we'll just address this case on the 30th of July. Thank you.
Your Honor, can you repeat that bond amount for the criminal trespass?
250?
Okay, we can go to position number 21, Mr. Wood. You have to see that in this. Wood.
Sorry, is it okay to use the restroom? If you don't, I'm sorry, I just gotta go real fast. Yeah, but don't walk out of court like that.
This is State versus Corey Grant Woods, accused of criminal trespass from July 15th, 2024. Case is 24 CR 4726G. Mr. Woods, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Any priors, Mr. Howard,
16, 2020 probation, 2020 criminal damage to property, another 2020 probation, 2019 trespass, 2017 terrorist threats, obstruction conviction.
Ms. Allen,
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on the 15th of July in East Point at the Hampton Inn and Suites. That's 3450 Creek Point Drive. Police were dispatched to a person trespassing. On scene, they spoke with the manager, Kriana King, Crionna. She reported that an unknown male was present after being previously criminal trespass. She'd asked him to leave numerous times, but he refused. Police made contact with the defendant. He reported that he was on the property to get shade from the sun. Officer Class on scene reported that he had previously criminally trespassed the defendant on July the 9th. He was placed under arrest. This is a single count of criminal trespass. You did hear that he's got a conviction for criminal trespass from 2019 in East Point at the Chick-fil-A. He has a felony criminal trespass for breaking a window at the Express Food Mart and Pharmacy. He's got history in Florida as well as California, including felony convictions, Your Honor. We would ask for supervision through pretrial and a $3,000 SOD.
okay.
No
Mr.
drugs,
Cook,
alcohol, or weapons. Thank you.
Mr. Cook, does your client have a verifiable address? I'm sorry, you're on mute, sir?
Yes, he does, Your Honor.
And what would that be?
It's 4962 Wewatta, that's Wewatta Street, Atlanta, 30331.
Thank you. Bond is set at $2,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services, level 3. He will stay 200 yards away. That's the length of 2 football fields from the Hampton Inn at 3450 Creek Point Drive in East Point. He's not allowed to return to that location at all and have no further contact with Kriana King. He's to report once a week to pretrial services. And if he gets arrested again, or if he fails to comply with the conditions, he will be arrested again, and the bond will be amended to a $2,500 surety. Thank you. Court 2, we'll take the next case.
We'll go with position number 21. Ms. May?
Did you mean 20?
Your Honor, I'm sorry, Judge, this is Attorney.
Position number 14, I'm sorry. Position
14.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, Mr. Hirsch, what was that?
So I had a client on for today, Colleen McElroy, but I was told it was going to be dismissed and she wouldn't have to go to court. I just wanted to confirm that that was true, in which case I'll sign off.
I filed a NOD on that case, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Hirsch,
Great.
case has been dismissed. You're free to go.
Thank you. What's the best way for me to get that?
The dismissal?
Yes.
Typically, the prosecutor's office sends a document or an email to the jail to indicate that they are not going to move forward with the prosecution, and then the case is not accused and your client's released from jail. That's not a formal document. Now, if you'd like to submit a proposed order indicating that the state does not plan to prosecute the matter, you can do so.
That'd be great. And just kind of I'll send it to the email where I send my entry.
That would be correct. Holly Bridgewater at fultoncountyga.gov.
All right, thank you.
Bridgewater, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And I'm so sorry, this was position number 14, and this would be Melissa May, accused of false report of a crime from January 13th, 2024. Her accusation is 24 CR 4796D. Ms. May, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors?
Fifth arrest, 2023 battery DV, cruelty to children out of Bartow County. Appears to be open. That's all.
All right, thank you. Okay, Ms. Dunlap Shea.
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident, it looks like happened on the 13th of January, 2024 at 7000 Roswell Road, apartment 232. Officers were responding to a domestic dispute. The defendant told officers her boyfriend and Mr. Tremaine Chisholm, they had a verbal argument over items she found when they were moving, indicating fidelity. She told officers he punched her in the face, grabbed her by the neck, choked her until her airways was cut off, pushed her and threw her through a wall, and there was a witness, a Miss Jerlene Winley. When officers got in contact with Miss Winley, she stated that she hadn't even seen the defendant since the 4th of January and denied those allegations, saying she wasn't even in town. When they spoke to Mr. Chisholm, he stated the defendant was acting very strange when they moved to this new apartment and became hostile, so he had moved out of the apartment and hadn't seen her either since January 3rd or 4th. She had claimed he had took firearms out of the house. He said he previously sold those and they weren't even taken to the new property. The state is looking for a signature bond through pretrial, a no further misuse of 911 or emergency services. I believe Mr. Chisholm is staying at that property, is in his name, so a stay away from the 7000 Roswell Road, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to actually ask for solicitor if they would like to consent for her to be referred to Pat. Right now, she does not have any place to go to, and she doesn't have any means to get back to Sandy Spring Police Department to get her belongings either. She denies the allegation. She was arrested on July 2nd for the same incident, same warrant. And then she was hospitalized at Grady for about 4 days, and they released her. And the officer told her everything was already taken care of, the warrant was canceled, and then now she's back again for the same charge. She denies the allegation. She graduated from high school. She worked her way up to work really hard at CDC. She's working as a director of operation to ensure the federal government contract for the healthcare program. And yet now she's afraid that she may have lost her job because she has been in jail for several days. And that's where she is right now. We would like to request for signature on bond through jail.
And you're saying that she doesn't have a residence right now since January of 2024?
No, I didn't say that, Your Honor. If she's not able to go back to that incident location, she has no other place to go.
But she has a job as a director of the CDC division.
She's so afraid that she's going to be fired by now. And hopefully Pat can help her to get the service.
All right. With regards to the bond's going to be set at $3,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. She'll need to update the court with a new address within 30 days of being released. This will be a level 2 reporting. She has to report twice a month. Please provide a new mailing address within 30 days of being released. You are to have no further contact with Tremaine Chisholm and to stay away from 7000 Roswell Road in Sandy Springs, Georgia. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. She will be subject to random screens for illegal drugs. She's to comply with all MH treatment and all MH medication. And failure to appear in court or being arrested again will result in her signature bond being amended to a surety or cash bond. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we go to position number 17, Mrs. Redmond.
This is State versus Shabria Danelle Redmond, accused of battery from July 16, 2024. The accusation is 24 CR 4799J. Ms. Redmond, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
2021 sale of marijuana out of Douglas County. 2019 probation and two 2013 FTA.
All right. Ms. Allen or Ms. Dunlap State, excuse me.
This is me, Your Honor. I'm
Hold
sorry.
on, State, you got the same history? You got a different history?
You had Shabria Redmond?
Yeah, who you got something different?
I had driving without a valid license, FTA 2013, marijuana possession 2018, probation violation 2019, and possession to sell marijuana 2021.
Okay, that's what I got. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Victim in this case is a Kenny Haynes. This incident happened yesterday on the 16th at 308 Marsh Trail Circle Northeast in Sandy Springs. Officers responded to a domestic dispute at this location. They spoke to the victim, Kenny Haynes, who stated the police have been called to this location several times in reference to domestic disputes with the defendant. They are girlfriend and girlfriend. The victim Ms. Haynes asked the defendant who she was talking to. She responded with, she pays the rent and it's her phone. She could talk to whoever she wants to. A further argument ensued over Ms. Haynes not paying rent. And as she was sitting on the sofa, defendant put her hand on the victim's neck and forced her up from the sofa, telling her she paid for the sofa and she can't sit there. Officers observed several red marks on the victim. We did have a chance to speak to the victim and Ms. Kenny Haynes. She stated that they are in a relationship, live together at the location. She said it's not the first time this has turned physical or the police have been called. She stated she doesn't want contact with the defendant and wants her to stay away from the residence until she's able to leave. The state is looking for a signature bond through pretrial, no further contact with the victim, Kenny Haynes, a stay away from that address, 308 Marsh Trail Circle Northeast. 1 day anger awareness, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond, and we could sound for the victim when appropriate.
Ms. Kenny Haynes, if you're on screen, please start your video and unmute if you want to address the court. Otherwise, you can remain silent. All right, Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Only thing that we would like to clarify is that the location is in her name only. She's the only one who's on the lease. She wants to file eviction. And once Miss Haynes is out of the premises, my client wants to return back home. And Your Honor, she's gainfully employed as a hair salon owner, and she graduated from high school. We would like to request for a signature on bond pretrial level 1. No further contact. We have no objection, Your Honor.
I did want to say something, Your Honor.
Very good. Then you interrupt politely and not like that.
I'm sorry. I'm
All
sorry.
right. Okay, Ms. Haynes, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you wish to have any contact with Shabria Redmond?
I don't. Also,
and do you still occupy the location at the, what was it, Morati Trail Circle or something like that? Marsh Trail Circle, sorry.
yes, ma'am.
So you currently still live there?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What else would you like to tell me?
So after she was arrested yesterday, we've lived together since December. After she was arrested, she took my house key, she put it on top of the door. Her sister came. Then her sister left, came back with 2 more of her sisters. They slashed all 4 of my tires.
This is a totally different case.
Yeah.
I put
anything else with respect to Miss Redmond having to have contact with you?
just no contact.
Okay, fine. Anything else, Miss Kim?
Nothing further from defense, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Miss Redmond, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court during the course of this proceedings, Your statements can and will be used against you in the prosecution of your case. However, if you wish to waive your right to remain silent, you are free to say anything you choose. Would we please unmute courtroom 2? Ms. Kim, did you want something to add?
Please do not say anything, Miss Rasman. I'll be happy to call you to explain anything and everything.
No, that's fine. I did have something to say pertaining to this incident. I just really
Please do not discuss anything.
it's been very aggressive on both ends. I did send my family. I did not take no house key. It's my house. It's my
Please.
apartment. I did I was on my way to do the eviction, but I did send my sisters to my apartment yesterday. She did
Please.
another
My client, Miss
wait,
Redmond,
can I
please do not
finish?
say
No,
anything.
I had to because I left my cellular device and everything at the house. The police said Sandy Springs said I could not bring nothing to Fulton
I would
County.
strongly recommend you not to say anything. You have a right to remain silent.
You told her, I told her. Ms. Redmond, you're the one charged with the crime. I've advised you of your right to remain silent. Your attorney has told you that. And if you want to keep talking, you are digging your grave a lot deeper than expected. You have basically given the prosecution more ammunition to charge you as an accessory if in fact your sisters did damage the victim's property.
My
Just
sister
keep
just
on
went to get
talking.
my
I'm
belongings.
listening.
My sister just went to get my belongings. That's it. It wasn't no violence or nothing. It wasn't no violence. Like she's lying. There was no violence. My sisters had my nieces with them. There was no violence.
Ms. Redmond, you were not there. And the victim is going to say one story. You're going to say one story. Do you want to expose yourself to further criminal liability?
This is
Okay.
awful.
Right. Anything else, Ms. Kim?
This is crazy.
Nothing further from defense except that courtroom 2. Would you please mute courtroom 2? Thank you.
No, the only person who's going to mute courtroom 2 is me. Please advise. Your client has been advised of her right to remain silent. And if she wants to foolhardily still pursue that and speak about the case, that's really up to her. It's to her detriment.
Yeah, because nobody
With
ever got
regards to the charge of battery, that's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services, level 3. She's to have no further contact with Kenny Jordan Haynes, which means that she has to stay 200 yards away from Kenny Jordan Haynes and not communicate with Miss Haynes in any way, form, or manner. That includes in person, through mail, through phone, computers, and even on social media, and through third parties, which means that if anyone attempts to communicate with Miss Jordan or approaches her on behalf of Miss Redmond to collect her stuff, to speak on her behalf, or anything else, Miss Redmond will be in violation of the no contact order and she'll be back in jail with no bond. She's to stay away from 308
So do I break my lease?
Trail Circle in Northeast Sandy Springs. She's
Do I break my
allowed
lease?
a one-time visit to the location with a police officer to retrieve her personal belongings.
What?
After that, she must update the court with her new address within 30 days of being released.
So
Within
I
30
have to break
days.
my lease. So I have to break my lease. I have
Within
6
30
months left
days
on my lease.
of being released, Miss Redmond will also enroll in a domestic violence intervention program. She must enroll in those classes. She shall show proof to pretrial that she has enrolled in such classes and that she is continuously attending such classes. Now, Ms. Redmond, if you intend to file a dispossessory action against Ms. Haynes, you would have to do so through an attorney, keeping in mind that you personally are not allowed to have any contact with the alleged victim.
Okay, so this is my question. Would it be in my apartment in
Please
my
give me a
name?
call. I'll be happy to answer
Do I
your
break my
question.
lease with my apartment complex? Do I break my lease? Like how does
As
this
Ms. Haynes is an occupant of the premises, you would have to file the dispossessory action. If you wish to break your lease, those are questions you would have to address directly with your public defense counsel or whichever counsel you decide to retain. Next court date will be set to Ms. Redmond's new address. It cannot be the Marsh Trail location. Thank you.
How not? Like,
Next,
that's
we
my
will go to
point.
position number 18, Mrs. Watershield.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, what?
Brown.
This is State versus Nunca Water Shield, accused of simple assault family violence in case 24 CR 004-800C. This is from an alleged incident of July 16th, 2024. Ms. Watershield, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any prize, Mr. Howard?
No.
Ms. Dunlop State?
Yep, thank you, Your Honor. This incident happened at 565 St. Jones Avenue, Southwest in Atlanta. Officers responded to a call of a physical dispute. When they got to the location, they spoke to the defendant, who stated she was dropping off her 2 children to the victim in this case, Mr. Keith Barnes. That is the children's father, because she said that they had an argument early in the day and she didn't want to walk them to the door, so she let them go unsupervised. Mr. Barnes came out angry that she let the kids walk unsupervised to the door, and she said that he proceeded to open hand slap her and draw a firearm from his hip and point it in her face, to which she tried to leave. The defendant then began to change her story once officers said they were going to talk to witnesses on the scene. When they spoke to Mr. Barnes, he stated that they did have a verbal confrontation. When he approached her, she actually had a pink Ruger pistol in a low ready position, and she attempted to strike him. She didn't actually make physical contact with him. When he attempted to defend himself, he attempted to strike her, but he didn't make any physical contact with her either. Mr. Barnes stated that they have escalated disputes on a normal basis. The defendant's story continued to change while Mr. Barnes' story remained consistent. The state is looking for a signature bond through pretrial, no further contact with the victim of Keith Barnes. This address is his address, so stay away from 565 St. John's Avenue Southwest, a family violence intervention program, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond, and we can sound for the victim when appropriate.
All right, Mr. Barnes, unless it's on iPhone too, I don't see a Mr. Barnes anyway. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 30 years old and her 3 minor children are 9, 7, and 5. She has been a stay-at-home mom because of her disability. She is not able to work outside actively. She's working at home doing YouTube marketing, Your Honor. She graduated from high school and she denies the allegation. We have no objection to stay away and no further contact. We would like to request for a signature on bond through pretrial. That's about it, Your Honor. Thanks.
Bond is set at 5,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services, level 3. No contact with Keith Barnes, and any exchange of custody or parenting shall be done through a third party. Ms. Watershield is to stay 200 yards away from 565 St. John's Drive in Atlanta, Georgia. And like I said, any parenting must be done through a third party if Ms. Watershield chooses to do so. Otherwise, Mr. Keith Barnes can file a legitimation action to either recover custody of the children or to seek joint custody and visitation. But as pursuant to the bond order, it must be done through a third party. Ms. Watershield will go through a firearm safety training class while she is out on her signature bond. She must enroll in such a class within 60 days of being released. As this is a family violence matter, she is to relinquish possession of any and all firearms that she owns. She must surrender said firearms to the authorities for destruction within 14 days of being released, and produce a document to pretrial that she has destroyed any and all firearms that she owns. Thank you.
Next, we can go to position number 6, Mr. Cofield, Curtis Cofield.
What's that position number again?
6.
This is Curtis Cofield, accused of battery from July 16, 2024. Mr. Cofield, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Your accusation number is 24 CR 4790F. And Mr. Howard?
11 total. 2024 trespass conviction, 2023 FTA, couple of 2022 probations, 2022 battery, simple battery conviction, 2021 2021 battery against a female who was pregnant conviction, 2019 battery conviction, 2020 contempt of court out of Virginia conviction.
All right. Ms. Daciano?
Your Honor, this incident took place on the 16th of July of this year. Officers were dispatched to Grady Hospital in reference to an attack. The victim in this case, her name is Michelle Figueroa McIntosh. She is actually the on-site coordinator for the company that provides showers for the homeless around Grady. She advised that the defendant approached her to be put on the shower list. The victim obliged, put him on the list. He came back, the defendant came back after some time to ask what number he was on the list. The victim told him that he was still the last person on the list, and he got upset and punched her square in the face, giving her a bloody nose. It also caused the victim to fall to the floor and hit her head on the concrete. We learned a couple of hours ago that the victim actually fractured her nose as a result. So our office has made a request to upgrade this case to an aggravated battery. Our office has also been in touch with the victim today. She states that she is a volunteer for Flowing with Blessings. They offer clothes and showers to the homeless. She confirmed the events in the warrant. Her nose is fractured. She wants no contact and states that the defendant is actually banned from allowing to utilize their services in the future. Given his several battery convictions and prior criminal trespass conviction and the severity of the injuries in this case, the state is asking for a $2,500 good bond, no further contact with Ms. Figueroa McIntosh, a stay away from the shower area at Grady, taking complete 2 days of anger awareness, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol out on bond. And if the court can sound for Ms. Figueroa McIntosh, I believe I saw her on the line.
Ms. Figueroa McIntosh, if you'd like to unmute, please. Or if the host can prompt her to unmute.
Oh, God.
Okay, I have Hello?
Yes, Ms. Figueroa McIntosh, may I
Yes,
put you under oath?
yes,
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
it will.
All right. Do you still continue to provide the services at Grady?
Well, I provide services for the showers Tuesdays and Thursdays every week.
And the prosecutors indicated that your injuries have resulted in an alleged broken nose. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And do you have anything else to add?
I only joined because at the time it wasn't shown that my nose was broken. So I came online to make sure that you were aware of that.
All right. Thank you. If you'd like to mute your screen, I appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 35 years old. He has been in the area, lived in the Atlanta area for about 10 years. He denies the allegations as stated. He doesn't know who, since he does not know who Ms. Figueroa McIntosh is. Beyond that, I would leave this in the court's discretion.
With regards to Mr. Curtis Cofield, the bond shall remain at a $5,000 surety. No further contact with Michelle Figueroa McIntosh to stay away from Grady Hospital at 80 Jesse Hill Drive unless he has an appointment with a medical provider or he is seeking emergency health treatment. Those are the only two reasons that he's allowed to be within the Grady Hospital system. He's to not consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess or own any firearms. And his next court date is going to be, what was it, July 31st was?
July 30th.
July 30th. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Next
So
we can go to
I'll be here till July 30th, right? If I don't pay the
Your
$5,000.
next court date is July 30th. If you qualify for any bond modification, you may be released or you may have to maintain the same bond.
Okay, but other than that, I'll be here till July 30th. Okay. Okay, thank you.
next we can go to position number 16, Mr. Norman. Norman.
Ms. Figaro McIntosh, you're free to go. All right, and Ms. Haynes, did you have another question? Otherwise, you are free to go. All right, I'm sorry, Deputy, could you please give me that name again?
Position 16, Mr. Norman.
Yeah. Marcel Norman is accused of criminal trespass under accusation 24 CR 4798G. Mr. Norman, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Fifth arrest, 2023 out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Possession of marijuana, obstruction, resisting officers, larceny, or unsafe lane change. Weird. No driver's license. That appears to be open. Another open case out of Tulsa for carrying a firearm while under the influence and public intoxication. Appears to be on probation. Distribution of a controlled substance. Possession with intent. Acquire proceeds from drug activities. Obstruction, possession of a controlled substance. Unauthorized use of a vehicle and carrying a firearm while under the influence. That's it.
And these were all from Tulsa, Oklahoma?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Ms. Dunlop State?
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident happened yesterday at 2714 Noble Creek Drive Northwest. That is the defendant's mother, Lecitia Carson, LECEITA CARSON. Officers were called to the location to investigate a dispute. They spoke to the defendant's mother. She stated her son had been visiting the residence for a week. He's been causing disturbances, punched a hole through the wall. She stated that he's been using drugs and damaged one of her mesh screens. She told the defendant to leave the location, not come back, gave him a verbal warning. Officers escorted him out of the location. He went to the bus stop. Then after a few minutes, officers observed him walking back to the complex and standing in front of the front door. We weren't able to get in touch with Ms. Carson to know if she wanted no further contact. So the state is looking for a signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Ms. Lecitia Carson. He is to stay away from 2714 Noble Creek Drive Northwest, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is only 21 years young, and he does have a one minor child. He has been actively searching for his job, and yet he's not employed as of now. So he's qualified for public defender services. He does not have any funds to be bonded out or to pay for a bond. We would like to request for a signature on bond through jail. Thank you. This was his mother's house.
Yes, I understand that. Bond is set at $1,000. It is a surety bond due to lack of ties with the community. As the victim is the only tie he appears to have, the bond is going to be a surety bond. He's to stay away from 2714 Noble Creek Drive, and that includes the entire apartment complex, including no contact with the alleged victim, and that's going to be with Lecitia Carson, LECEITA. No contact in person through any kind of electronic device or even on social media. Next court date will be July 30th. Thank you.
Next, we go to position number 9, Mr. Hollins.
Afternoon.
Hello. Mr. Kajuan Holland is 24 CR 4794C, accused of theft by receiving stolen property from July 16th, 2024. Mr. Holland, your attorney is Mr. Cook, and you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Mr. Howard?
Second arrest. He had a 2017 capital offense. It was dismissed.
Thank you. Ms. Desiano?
Your Honor, I don't have a lot of information on this case. I just know that the defendant, this incident happened on the 16th of July of this year. Officers made contact with the defendant around Calaveras Drive and Northridge Drive in Sandy Springs, and he had in his possession a stolen Glock Model 19 9mm pistol. The weapon was reported stolen out of Lee County, Alabama. It's my understanding that this defendant has a $5,000 surety bond on this case already. The state would just request that the bond remain as currently set, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond.
Is he charged with theft by receiving a stolen firearm?
He is, yes.
And isn't that a felony charge?
Your Honor, I don't have, the warrant is, there is a theft by receiving firearm that is a misdemeanor offense. And that's what it's currently charged at. I don't have any, the warrant is I have very little information. I've requested that the police report be expedited so we could see and possibly upgraded if necessary, but for purposes of bond today, it's a misdemeanor.
Mr. Oh, sorry, was it Mr. Cook?
Yes, yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, my client's 29 years old. He has lived in the Atlanta area his entire life. He's gainfully employed, a high school graduate, has some college. He denies the allegations as stated in the warrant. Has no idea what the source of the weapon is. Other than he knows he was not aware of any weapon being stolen. I don't see any more than that. We just don't have a lot of information on the case. We would be seeking, therefore, a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate, and we would nothing further on it.
I don't know if the state's got the right charge for this. That's my concern. Right now, I am going to set a bond at $2,000, a signature bond through the jail. Mr. Holland is to relinquish possession of any and all firearms. He's not allowed to own a firearm, have one on his person or anywhere near him. And if he owns any firearms, he has to be surrendered to the authorities. Presently, Mr. Holland, you have a release bond, but the requirements is no firearms. In the event that the state revises the charge, you could be facing a felony matter. So to make sure your address is current with the courts and that you come back to court when summoned. Thank you.
Next, we go to position number 5, Mr. Clemens.
This is State versus Thomas Michael Clemens, accused of battery from July 15th, 2024. Mr. Clemens, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Any priors?
21 on probation in DeKalb. Battery DV on probation in Henry. Forgery in the 3rd. Spalding County, forgery in the 4th. 2019 probation violation. 2011 false imprisonment robbery conviction. That's all.
Ms. Desiano?
Your Honor, this incident took place July 17th of 2024. Officers responded to 3129 Candlewood Drive, Apartment A, regarding a fight. The victim, Devontae Page, advised that he was arguing with the defendant when he was punched in the face twice. The officer observed swelling and bruising to the victim's face. The officer found the defendant hiding in a closet. Given his history and he has open probation cases and a prior battery conviction, the state is requesting a $2,500 good bond. No further contact with Mr. Page, a stay away from the incident location, 2 days of anger awareness, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond, and if the court can sound for Mr. Page.
Mr. Page? All right, Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 44 years old. He's lived in the area about 4 years. He does not know Mr. Page and denies the allegations in the warrant. We would be seeking a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate. There are some holds. I think one is in Henry County. So if he could get the signature bond, he could be released to Henry and take care of his issues there.
right. Thank you. Bond is set at $1,000 as a surety bond. No contact with Devontae Page, and to stay away from the location, 3129 Candlewood Drive in East Point, Georgia. His next court date is July 30th. In the event that he makes bond, he would need to update the court with his new address. I think the address that was provided to the jail may be incorrect. I don't know if the state's correct. It's listed as New York, but y'all might want to look into that. But in the meantime, if he does make bond, he can only be released to the Henry County hold. Thank you.
Next, we go to position number 8, Mr. Greer.
So I got it down the other file.
Mr. Rodriguez Greer is accused of criminal trespass from July 15th, 2024, case number 24CR4803F. Mr. Greer, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Any priors, please?
27. 2023 DUI suspended license. 2022 simple assault. So he got a lot of probation violations in his history. 2012 burglary conviction.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on the 15th of July, 2024. It's a criminal trespass for damaging the burglary door at his mother's home. His mother's name is Teresa Blackwell. This is 1349 Kenilworth. We have attempted to get in touch with Miss Blackwell, but have not been successful at this point. The defendant was located near the location and taken into custody. I would note that he has a conviction for simple assault family violence against the same individual from 22 in 22 CR 0000366A. Also, Kenilworth Drive. In that incident, the victim reported her son was drunk and yelling and screaming at the house and threw a lawn chair at her. We would request a surety bond, Your Honor, for $2,000 and a requirement that the defendant stay away from the location and have no contact with Mrs. Greer or Teresa Greer or Teresa Blackwell. She's known as both.
Okay. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 46 years old. He's lived in the area his entire life. He denies the allegations as stated in the warrant. I also was not able to contact Ms. Blackwell. This is not only her home, it is his home as well. He's lived there for many, many years with her. So given that, we would be asking for the nature of the charge. We would be asking for a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate. And there was no interaction between the two on this charge. So we would object to stay away, and if no violent contact is appropriate, we would have no objection to that either, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Bond is set at $1,000. It's a surety bond. Next court date is July 30th. In the event that Mr. Greer makes bond, he can only be released to the holds either at Fayette County or Atlanta PD. Either one can, whoever picks him up first, that's where he's going to go. No further contact with Teresa Blackwell and or Teresa Greer, and to stay away from 1349 Kenilworth Drive in Atlanta, Georgia. Within 30 days of being released from jail and or from all his holds, he shall update the court with his new mailing address. Thank you.
Next, we will go to position number 13, Mr. Malcolm.
Daryl Malcolm is accused of misdemeanor terroristic threats and acts from June 14, 2024. The case number is 24CR 4795H. Mr. Malcolm, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim.
Your Honor.
Any prize, Mr. Howard?
Third, last arrest was 1997, forgery.
Thank you. Ms. Dunlap-State.
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident happened on June 19, 2024 at 5565 Glen Ridge, it looks like Corners in Sandy Spring. The victim in this case is Tarita Kirk, that's Tarita. Officers responded to a threat call at the location. They spoke to the victim, Ms. Kirk, who stated she encountered a truck parked at the building. At the site, she lives there around 8 a.m. She approached the driver to offer assistance. He declined. Ms. Kirk told the defendant the parking space was reserved for delivery drivers and asked him to relocate his truck. He became verbally abusive, using language such as calling her the B word and a dyke. He issued threats of violence, saying that he was going to hit her with his truck. He also told her that you're not going to talk to a man like this without consequences. 2 witnesses corroborated this story. The state is looking for a signature bond through pretrial. No further contact with the victim, Ms. Tarita Kirk. A stay away from 5565 Glenwood Corners in Sandy Spring. 1 day anger awareness. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 48 years old. He is legally married with 3 minor children. He has a very successful plumbing business with 12 employees. Your Honor, he also has some college education. He denies the allegations. He was kind of shocked that he was the one who was threatened. However, he didn't bother to call the police, and yet he is turned around and being arrested. We would like to request for a signature on bond through jail, and we have no objection to no further contact and stay away since he doesn't know Miss Tarika Kirk at all. Thank you.
Bond is set at $3,000. This is signature bond through pretrial services, level 2. He will report to pretrial twice a month. No further contact with Tarita Kirk, I think it's Kirk, to stay 200 yards away from the location, 5565 Glen Ridge Connector in Sandy Springs, Fulton County. If he has any business transactions to conduct in that location, one of his other employees will have to go there. He personally cannot be within 200 yards of that location. His next court date will be sent to his Johns Creek address, and we'll see him then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we go to position number 2, Mr. Beazle.
State versus John Wesley Dazell, case number 24CR 4786F, accused of criminal trespass from July 16th, 2024. Mr. Bazell, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Mr. Howard, any priors?
50. 42 come out of Florida. Last arrest was June 6, shoplifting. On probation in Superior Court for theft by receiving. It's 22 SC 182433. What else? Got a 2023 theft by receiving, fleeing an officer. 2023 probation. 2019 possession of a controlled substance conviction. 2019 FTA. 2019 uttering a forged check conviction. 2018 FTA. Let me keep going.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Tessiano?
Your Honor, this incident took place on July 16th of 24 at the MARTA station at 855 East Paces Ferry Road. The defendant forced his way through the handicap fare gate without paying. MARTA had previously issued a permanent ban to this defendant on December 1st of 2022. He was obviously in violation of that ban at the time of this incident. Given his extensive criminal history and his open cases, the state's recommending a $500 good bond on both counts, a stay away from all MARTA facilities, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond.
Thank you. Mr. Cook?
Yeah, we have no objection to a stay away. But given the nature of the charge of criminal trespass and the fare evasion, and the fact that my client is not working, has no way to make a surety bond, we would be seeking a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate. And again, no objection to any other conditions recommended.
It's $1,000 surety on the criminal trespass and $250 surety on the fair evasion. His total bond is $1,250. It is a surety bond. He's required to stay away from all motor property until further order of the court. Pursuant to the permanent ban, he's not allowed to be at any of the train stations, any of the bus stations, including motor facilities, sidewalks, parking lots, bathrooms, and so forth. Next court date is going to be July 30th. Thank you.
Next, we can go to position number 20, Mr. Williams.
State versus Wesley Williams. Mr. Williams' case is 24 CR 4806D. Mr. Williams is accused of criminal trespass from July 16th, 2024. Mr. Williams, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim.
27, 2021 DUI, 2017 driving while impaired conviction, 2010 probation.
Thank you. Ms. Allen? I'm sorry, please unmute.
You said that's not him?
Thank you.
That's not me.
State, you got a different history?
No.
Do you have a different GCIC, Ms. Allen?
I have no criminal history.
What's your birthday?
9/29/57.
His birthday is 9/29/57.
Okay.
That's the date I have.
I'll check it out while the state goes out. Let me see something.
Thank you. Your Honor, this is an incident that occurred on the 16th of July. Criminal trespass. The victim's name is Charles Lwanga, Lwanga. It's alleged that the defendant keyed the outside of the driver's side of his 2017 Mini Cooper. This was at 734 Lakeview Avenue in Atlanta. I believe that's the location of the residence where the defendant lives. Police were called to a report of property damage. Eric Harris, who was the driver of that vehicle and the partner of the owner, Mr. Lwanga, reported that he had gone to the location and parked in front of the location at Lakeview Avenue, returned shortly thereafter to see a long scratch mark on the driver's side vehicle, and there was a note left on the car stating that the male at 734 was responsible. While on scene and speaking to Mr. Harris, police were approached by Mr. Seguira, Seguira, first name Joseph. He reported that he had in fact witnessed the defendant key the vehicle. He said he was outside when he observed the defendant and his wife pull up and park across the street from the location. They put groceries into the residence, and the defendant then came outside and stood next to the vehicle. The victim heard the scraping sound of the vehicle being keyed, and watched and witnessed as the defendant looked at his handiwork before going back inside his residence. The owner, Mr. Lwanga, was notified of the damage. Our office has been in contact with the victim, and we would be requesting stay away, no contact, stay away from the two victims in this case, no contact with them, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. And we would leave an amount up to Your Honor. We would request a pretrial supervision just based on the fact that this is obviously at the location where this defendant lives and where these victims may continue to be. And now he has the identity of the witness, who is a neighbor, so he should also have no contact with.
Yeah, this history I got has black male on it, so I already know it's wrong.
Okay, so that history is disregarded.
Yes.
Now, let me make sure I'm clear. This is the alleged victim's owner of the vehicle is Charles Lwanga.
Yes, Your Honor. And his partner was driving it, Mr. Eric Harris.
Okay, and then the alleged witness is Wesley Williams. Is that correct?
No, that's the defendant. The witness.
Oh, not Wesley Williams. Let me see. Sakira. Was it Sakira?
Yes, Mr. Joseph Sakira.
All right. Joseph Secure. Okay. And Mr. Wesley Williams lives at that location too. I'm assuming in close proximity to the witness and the victim.
I believe so.
Okay. Miss Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 66 years old, and he has been working as a commercial real estate investor and broker. He does have a bachelor's degree from UGA, and he denies the allegation. He does not know Eric Harris or Charles Luwanga. He only knows Joseph Sequeira, and he was kind of shocked to find out that I guess he was hated by Mr. Joseph. But he has no grudge. My client has no grudge. He believes that there was a misunderstanding. My client resides there with Miss Mary at that location. We would like to request for a signature on bond through jail, and that's about it. We have no objection to no contact as long as he can return his home. Thanks.
Bond is going to be set at 2,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. He's to report to pretrial once a month. He is not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess or own any firearms. Any firearms that he possesses must be surrendered to the authorities for destruction. He's to have no further contact with Charles Luwanga, Eric Harris, and Joseph Sequeira. If any of these three gentlemen are outside, Mr. Wesley Williams, is to return into his property or to drive away. He cannot linger against any of the vehicles that belong to any of these three victims, and his next court date will be sent to his current address. So in other words, Mr. Williams, if Mr. Luwanga, Mr. Harris, or Mr. Sequeira are outside, you are under an order to either return into your particular apartment unit or to drive away from the location. You're not allowed to communicate with them in any way, form, or manner. Do you understand, sir?
Yes.
Thank you.
We can go to position number 3, Mr. Britton. Michael Britton, please have a seat.
This is State versus Michael Britton, position number 3. Mr. Britton is accused of simple assault from June 18th, 2024. His case is 24 CR 4787D. Mr. Britton, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Cook. Any priors, please?
Third, last arrest was in April, suspended license. 2023 driving without a valid license conviction. That's it.
Okay. So 2023 driving or license suspended conviction, and April 2024 a new driver's license suspended case. Is that correct, Mr. Howard?
My bad, I thought I was on mute. 2024 was suspended license. Last year was driving without a valid license conviction. Yes.
Okay. Ms. Desiano?
Your Honor, this incident took place June 18th of this year at 4535 Derby Loop in South Fulton. Officers were called by the victim, Lakita Campbell. The defendant has a child with the victim's daughter. The victim advised that the defendant and her daughter were having a dispute. She went outside to intervene, and the defendant raised a tire iron at her and said, "I will F you up." The defendant fled the scene prior to police arriving. Our office has been in touch with the victim today. She states the incident location is her home. She states that she's had several issues with this defendant in the past. July 4th, he came over trying to fight her son. He also showed up last night with 3 other people trying to take her daughter. She states that that's how he was actually arrested in this case, was because she called the police on him yesterday. Given his limited arrest record, the state's requesting a signature bond through pretrial. Absolutely no contact with Ms. Campbell, a stay away from her residence, taking complete 1 day of anger awareness, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond, and if the court can sound for Ms. Campbell.
Ms. Lakita Campbell, if you'd like to contribute, you need to unmute and start your video. I have someone on iPhone 6. I don't know who that is, so we'll move on. Okay, there's someone appearing there. Are you Miss Campbell? You need to unmute. Are you Miss Campbell?
Actually, I'm the mother. He had his, I was keeping his
What
son
is your
last
name,
yesterday.
please?
Hello?
What is your name?
Oh, my name is Tracy McKell.
All right, you're not Miss Campbell. And whose mother? Who's your son?
I'm Miss Campbell's mother. And what happened last night is his sister and his other child's mother came over to my house where they don't reside at.
We would object.
One thing. Ma'am, if you please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, it will.
Okay, and what's your name?
My name is Tracy McKell.
Tracy McKell.
Yes.
And your daughter shares a child with Mr. Britton?
My granddaughter does.
Your granddaughter, okay. And I thought the name was a bit off. Miss Desiano, do we have the right, I have a person, Lakita Campbell. Who is Lakita Campbell?
Lakita is my daughter.
Is your daughter?
Yes.
And Mr. Britton has a child with, so your daughter is the grandmother?
Yes, my daughter's the grandmother. I'm the great grandmother.
You're the great grandmother. And is Miss Lakita Campbell available?
Hold on. She was at work. So I guess that's why she sent me the link. She's at work.
Do you all of you stay at 4535 Derby Loop in Fairburn?
No, I don't live there. He knows I don't live there. So I don't even know why he and his sister and them to come over here to fight my granddaughter when she came to pick up my grandson, my great grandson last night. And he was in contact with me. I didn't know anything was going on.
No,
please stop. Please stop.
I realize there's no jury, but we would still object.
This is getting way too family drama. Okay, yeah. Miss McCall, please stop. All right, this person raising their hand. What's your name?
Lakita. It kicked me out as soon as you called my name.
Well, not me, but let's go ahead and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right, you have a daughter, Janija Render, is that correct?
Correct.
And your daughter shares a child with Mr. Britton?
Correct.
And Mr. Britton is being accused of simple assault against you?
Correct.
And what location do you live at the Derby Loop or somewhere different?
Derby Loop.
Okay. And does your daughter wish to have contact with Mr. Britton?
No.
All right. Thank you. You may mute your screen. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 23 years old. He denies the allegations as stated in the warrant. I'm not sure the mother can speak for the daughter. I mean, she was old enough to have a relationship with him. He was there removing tires, and sometimes you use a tire iron, which is generally a crowbar and a wrench for lug nut. So he denies completely that he raised or threatened her in any way with the so-called tire iron. Given that, he has no objection to a stay away or no further contact with the victim. I don't think she can, with the alleged victim, I don't think she can speak for her daughter. We would be asking for a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate. This is something that doesn't feel right about this allegation, but.
Thank you. His bond is set at $2,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. This is going to be a level 2 reporting. He's to report to pretrial twice a month. No driving unless he has a valid driver's license. current insurance, and proper registration. So first, if he gets arrested again for another suspended license, there goes his signature bond. No further contact with Lakita Campbell and Tracy McCall, and to stay 200 yards away from 2535 Derby location in Fairburn. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. Now, if he wishes to visit the child that he shares with the granddaughter of this family, that will be completely up to the granddaughter. He has no right to visit or have custody or visitation of this child unless he files a legitimation action with the appropriate superior court. But until then, please keep in mind, Mr. Britton, that the mother of your child has the absolute right to refuse you visitation and custody. So if those are her wishes, you are not allowed to have any visitation or custody with the child unless the child's mother agrees or you file the appropriate legitimation action. Your next court date will be sent to your current address and you report to pretrial twice a month. Thank you.
We can do position number 12 and 19 are both waivers.
Okay. Are there any other cases in the courtroom to be addressed?
No.
All right. Position number 12.
Your Honor, we need a breakout room for position 12.
No one's in the courtroom.
Oh, no one's in the courtroom.
All right. Yeah.
What about 11?
No, this is a waiver of appearance. Who's the defense counsel? Mr. Cook?
Yes, on position 12.
Bonding.
Oh. Have you waived his appearance? Oh, her appearance?
Yes.
Well, I think it's his. Is it him, right?
Yes.
Or does he identify as female?
He identifies as female, Your Honor.
Okay. State versus Violet Jarrells, whose appearance has been waived for this proceedings. Case number is 24 CR 4793A, accused of criminal trespass and public indecency. And any priors, Mr. Howard?
32, 2023 obstruction, violation of family violence order out of Athens, Clark County. That's open. What else? Got another open case in Athens for public indecency. 2021 FTA, 2019 FTA, 2019 ag assault obstruction conviction, 2012 and 2010 probation.
Thank you. Ms. Allen or Ms. Dunlop State?
My case, Your Honor. This incident happened on July 15, 2024 at 80 Jesse Hill Jr. Drive. That's Grady Hospital. Officers responded to Grady Hospital. Defendant refused to leave the property after receiving treatment and medication. Was told to do so many times. She was escorted off the property, but then returned, then removed all of her clothing and sat on top of the Clayton County patrol vehicle, exposing her genitals. The state is looking for a signature bond through pretrial. Stay away from the Grady Hospital, absent any emergencies, MHET, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
All right. Mr. Cook?
Your Honor, we have no objection to the stay away as long as it excludes any necessity he might have for medical services from Grady. He actually lives in Athens, Georgia, but he does have to come to Grady from time to time for some medical treatment. He denies the allegations as stated in the warrant. We would have, well, we go through this occasionally. Generally speaking, the folks who do the mental health issues would like the misdemeanor folks to do a BHCT prior to the MHCT if the court deems such necessary. That's probably where we should start. Nothing further.
All right, I'm just looking
for a signature bond.
Okay, I'm just looking at his latest entries in the Fulton County Jail, 2018 and 2021, and now this one in 2024. I think it would not be implausible to require such an evaluation if he can be visited by a social worker or she can be visited by a social worker. On the criminal trespass is 500. On the PI charge is 1,000. That's a 1,500 surety bond. To stay away from Grady Hospital unless she has an appointment with a health provider or is seeking emergency health treatment. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Next court date is going to be July 30th.
Yeah.
Are we going with the BHET, Your Honor, since it's a misdemeanor and?
You would need to request the evaluation to be done.
Yes, okay.
The next waiver, I'm sorry, is which case?
19. Weldon.
This is State versus Kenneth Weldon, case 24 CR 4807J, accused of fair evasion and criminal trespass. Mr. Weldon's appearance has been waived. The alleged incident date is July 16. Any price, Mr. Howard?
20.
Sorry?
20.
20 cycles.
Got an open case. Disorderly conduct, terrorist and threats. What is that? 23 CP 220860. 2024 trespass. 2023 another terrorist and threats arrest. 2022 probation. 2022 obstruction conviction.
That's good. Thank you. Miss Allen, yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on the 16th of July at 30 Alabama Street Southwest. That's a 5 Points MARTA station. The defendant was observed pushing through the handicap fare gate at MARTA without paying the required $2.50 fare. He was on MARTA property and noted at that time to have an active 365-day suspension that had been issued on June the 6th of 2024. That is also his last arrest for criminal trespass. In addition, he's got an open felony case for terroristic threats that he is out on bond for. He was arrested on scene, Your Honor. We would ask for a surety bond, given that he's now in violation of at least 2 bonds.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. My client does require to have social worker service visit and get his behavioral health evaluation done. He does seem to have MH issue, so we have no objection.
On the fair evasion is 500. On the criminal trespass is 1,000. That's a 1,500 surety bond. Stay away from all MARTA property. No illegal drugs, alcohol, and weapons. And if you, after the visit, if they seek an evaluation, please submit that to the court.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next court date is July 30th.
Thank you.
Position number 11, bond was paid.
Okay, position number 11 made bond, so it's released and further notice. You said that, right? Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that's all for courtroom 2.
All right, thank you, courtroom 2. With regards to the attorneys, just to go over the calendar, position 1 is Allen is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. Position 2, Bizel is a $1,250 surety bond, reset July 30th. Position 3, Britain is a 2,500 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Position 4 is a 1,000 surety, reset July 30th. Position 5 is a $1,000 surety, July 30th. 6, Cofield's a $5,000 surety, reset July 30th. Position 7 is a $2,000 signature bond for pretrial level 1. Position 8, Greer is a $1,000 surety, reset July 30th. This is also in the event of a release. This is a release to only Fayette County or Atlanta PD holds. Position 9, Hollins, a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. 10, Howard is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial with a DVIP requirement. Position 11 is released and further notice. Position 12, Jarrell is a $1,500 surety bond, reset July 30th. 13, Malcolm is a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 2. 14 May is a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial services. 15 Neil is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial with a DVIP requirement. Position 16 is Norman is a $1,000 surety bond, reset date July 30th. 17 Redmond is a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3 with a DVIP requirement. 18 Water Shield is a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3. Position 19 is a $1,500 surety bond, reset date July 30th. 20 Williams is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. And 21 Woods is a 2,500 signature bond through pretrial level 3. Ms. Bridgewater,
Yes, ma'am.
do we sync on those numbers?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Are we on the same page about those numbers?
We sure are.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay. All right, folks, so we are done with this calendar, and I wish everyone a good afternoon. Y'all
You
have
tomorrow, right?
Yes, sir. Take care.
I think y'all got a lot for SAP too.
Oh, let's see what happens.
Thank you, Judge Long.
All right, take care, everyone.
That means our interviews will be late for SCA, so that's
Are you
it.
going to be late for SAP tomorrow?
No, I said when SAP runs late, our SCA interviews run late because.
I'll try to keep that in mind. Let's see how it goes. All right. Take care. Thank you.
Okay, Judge, the paperwork's on its way.
Oh, you were front.
Yeah, I didn't know about home.
Oh, that's fine.
It takes 1 day.
Yeah, you got much of that. You